Shell. I'm here to talk about the environment and the lack of environmental action of both the Ontario and Canadian governments, and then what you can do about it and the changes that you as an individual can make in your community to better the world. I'm going to begin by critiquing the Ontario government with Doug Ford at the helm and bearing the brunt of my criticisms. This is the second time that Ford has been in power and the second time that I've taken the time to write him a letter to express to him my concerns over projects that he has had planned that would endanger the Greenbelt and other areas of environmental importance. We can kind of see a theme here. This is the second time that a project has threatened the Greenbelt, which kind of gives us a glimpse into Premier Ford's views on environmental protection. But I digress. The first time that I contacted the Ford government was the first time that they had been elected in 2018. One of the proposed bills, Bill 66, planned to remove protections from the Greenbelt and groundwater, which is Ontario's main source of drinking water, and Ontario's Greenbelt is the largest protected natural area in the world. This bill would have had horrible effects on the environment here in Ontario, and the main motivator of passing this bill, or cutting the red tape, as the Premier put it, would have been economic development and new land to develop and turn into housing. As the young little eco-warrior I was, I began writing a letter. It was my dad who helped me edit and send off the letters to people in Queen's Park that we thought it would be best to send correspondence to, and then came the waiting game. Much to my surprise, I heard back from both Doug Ford and Mike Harris, the Premier and the MPP representing the riding that I live in. I actually have the responses still because I was very proud of what I had done, and it turned out that Premier Ford has also given my letter to the Minister of the Environment, and I ended up receiving a response from him as well. And you know what? It turns out I wasn't the only person in Ontario that was upset about this bill. In fact, enough people were angry and there was such an overwhelmingly negative response from the public that the bill actually ended up being cancelled. So that was an example of the Ford government making decisions, or at least trying to make decisions and choices that would have had a negative impact on the environment. Now I'm going to turn my focus to the federal government, which is currently Liberal. While they have much more progressive views and a slightly better action plan when it comes to tackling climate change, I mean, the Conservatives barely have anything, the bar is extremely low, it isn't nearly as aggressive enough, and I can't help but feel that the problem is not being taken nearly as seriously as it needs to be. This is the most pressing issue of our time, the one that could have the most severe and most widespread impact, and the problem that requires the most immediate action. The way we fight climate change is by making the hard decisions that may not be popular right now and may not win you the next election, but will help make this planet a better place for my generation and my children's generation and their children's generation, and so on and so forth. By holding companies accountable, stopping the production and drilling for oil in Canada, and transitioning to clean energy and a green economy, the government has the power to make the required changes. But we aren't the federal government. We don't have billions of dollars and the power to make those large-scale changes. But we are also way past the point of turning off the light and composting your muffin wrappers. It is time that you and me, regular people, begin making changes in our own lives that have larger impacts that we can't even imagine. There are so many things that we can do. Eating less meat products, trying to buy food that doesn't come wrapped in plastic, trying to take public transportation more often, and if it's possible for your family, switching to an electric vehicle and doing things like replacing your natural gas-run appliances with electric ones when they inevitably stop working. Changes like these will take work. There's no overnight fix to the problem that has been brewing since the 1920s and the Industrial Revolution. There's no silver bullet that can fix the problem in a matter of seconds. But there are things that every single person can do that can limit their carbon footprint. And of course, reach out to your government officials. They are reading your letters and you can make real change happen in your communities and in the world. Remember, the government is elected to represent you, the people, and the things that you want. So don't be afraid to let them know that you don't think they're doing an adequate job. Thank you so much for tuning in, but now I have to tune out. This has been Bridget Coleman, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!